My guest today is Niki Mosier, head of SEO at 2 Octobers. She's a well-known local SEO, a must-follow on Twitter, and a popular presenter. She's presented at SMX West, WordCamp, Optimize, and she'll be speaking at Brighton later this year. A few years ago, local SEO legend Mike Blumenthal coined the phrase Google as your new homepage. The idea is that Google is showing so much valuable information in knowledge panels and other special features that searchers no longer need to go to the website to find out everything they need. Niki is an expert helping businesses optimize their GMB listing in order to take advantage of these features from Google. I met her earlier this year at SMX before everything got shut down. I heard her give an excellent local SEO presentation about how to optimize GMB Q&A and how to write a perfect business description. Niki is a graduate of the Shine Speaker Bootcamp. We spent a little bit of time talking about her experience as an up-and-coming speaker. Niki and I drank some local craft beers while geeking out on local SEO. She was kind enough to offer tips for local link building and local content optimization. And I also asked her a little bit about the future of her favorite team, the Green Bay Packers. Niki Mosier, welcome to Suds and Search. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Mark? Thanks for having me.
I'm good. Yeah, thanks for coming on. I'm glad you're willing to have a beer with me. I hope it's not too early in Denver. I'm having a beer
not too bad.
From right across the street from us. This is Dovetail Brewing. They have really nice looking cans for these ones. This is a my
those are fun.
And I think I've had a couple tastes. It's really good. Are you
Nice.
having something from Denver?
This is not the beer that I'm having, but this is one that a local brewery just released that I thought was pretty funny. I had it while camping last weekend. They released a whole fun line of COVID beers, but I'm having a Colorado native Good as Golden from Golden, Colorado, which is about 15 minutes up the road from me.
Awesome. And you're really involved in the SEO beers in Denver, right? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the organizer. Matt LaQuesta is the organizer, but I try to attend when I can. I think we should be having actually our virtual SEO beers tomorrow night via Zoom. If we don't get Zoom bombed, we've gotten Zoom bombed the last couple of months.
I've heard about these things. I haven't experienced it myself, but
yeah, I highly don't recommend it. It's not a pleasant experience.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry about that. Well,
all right.
I met you at SMX West and heard you present. You and Greg were on the stage together, so that was very cool. And I want to just maybe start with a little bit of background. You're at an agency called 2 Octobers. If I'm reading your LinkedIn right, this is your second time there, so you must like the people enough.
Yeah, left for a little bit and came back.
Awesome. And I know you've got a new tool out for GMB automation for posts. What's going on at 2 Octobers? And tell us a little bit about the new tool.
Yeah, so we acquired Noah Lerner of Bike Shop SEO a couple of months ago, just about the time COVID hit actually. So we haven't even gotten to spend any time in the office with him yet. But he kind of hit the ground running with our team and created a Google Sheets add-on GMB bulk posting tool, which I know has been kind of a thorn in a lot of people's sides that manage multi-location SEO, or even just one location. Being able to schedule out GMB posts and being able to handle that in bulk has definitely been a want. So they released that tool in conjunction with Agency Automators, a group that he runs with some other smart data folks and automation folks in the industry. So we released that about a month ago, and that's been pretty well received as we thought it would. So yeah, just search in the Google search or the Google Sheets add-ons for GMB posting tool, and it'll pop up pretty easily.
Very cool. Well, I think one of the things I want to talk to you about is a phrase that we hear a lot in local SEO, that Google is your new homepage. And at SMX, I heard you talk about two specific features of GMB, Q&A, descriptions, and we've already talked about posts. And so I thought I would start by asking you a little bit about GMB Q&A, because that was a big part of your presentation. You had three main tips. One of them was to seed your Q&A. What does that mean exactly? And how do you do it?
So for me, I think about like the FAQ section on a website, and those really key important things that you want somebody to know right off the bat about your business. So adding those in the Q&A on your GMB profile. So maybe that's, do you offer a specific service? Right now, something relevant would be, do you offer curbside pickup or delivery, contactless payment, things like that. And the nice thing about Q&A is you can change those out pretty easily. If something's not relevant, you can delete it, that sort of thing. And then adding a thumbs up, about 3 thumbs up seems to be the trick to get that one question and answer that you really want to show up on the listing, to get that to show up. So yeah, seeding those is a really great way to kind of take ownership of that area, because it is user generated content. So anybody can post questions and answers that may or may not be relevant to your business. So taking ownership of that and making sure that you control what's in that space can definitely be beneficial to your business.
Yeah, and you mentioned upvoting. So how does that work? Are you allowed, if you can upvote your own questions, they're the ones that you think are most important? There's no guidelines around this at this time?
Yeah, so far there hasn't been any guidelines around that. Like I said, it does take about 3 upvotes to get that one question that you want to show up. So usually you have to send that listing to a friend and say, hey, can you upvote this question for me? Can you upvote the answer? Because you can only upvote it once yourself from each Google account.
Makes sense. And I want to just make sure, to be clear, this is not the same thing as People Also Ask, but you mentioned that you can use People Also Ask as a great way to seed your GMB Q&A. What are some other ways you can do that?
Yeah, that's a great way to look for questions. Yeah, thinking about People Also Ask is a great way to look for questions because that gives you a firsthand look at what people are searching for. I think also looking at your GMB queries, so going into the GMB insights and seeing what people are actually searching for to bring them to your GMB is a great way to come up with questions. And then also just thinking about your FAQ and what are people asking when they call on the phone? What are they asking when they email you? If you don't answer the phone, you don't check the emails, talk to your customer service team, find out what people are asking and make sure those are the things that are in your Q&A.
Awesome. And then you had another tip that I had not quite considered, which was to use your Q&A as lead gen, that you could actually look at these questions and find potentially new customers. How do you do that?
I've seen a lot in like just kind of scouring Q&A to see what people are asking, is people will actually ask questions. Do you offer this service? I think I used the example at SMX of an auto repair shop, somebody asking if the auto repair shop offered a specific service. So that's an opportunity where someone's actually wanting to know if you offer that thing. So following up quickly, and obviously that's kind of a timely thing, but monitoring that so you can catch when those come in and follow up and say, hey, we do offer this service, come in. We'd be happy to take a look, that sort of thing. So another reason, just like with reviews, to be able to stay on top of those and respond in a timely fashion. Very
cool. And yeah, you mentioned at the beginning, and I think it's a good point, that this user-generated content is what Google loves. I think local SEOs, we think a lot about reviews as user-generated content, but there are other places. I think we mentioned Q&A, but what are some other user-generated signals that Google might look at as it relates to local SEO?
Photos are definitely a big one, especially on the Google My Business listing. So that's a place where anybody can add photos of your business. So I've seen a lot of great examples of businesses kind of promoting this and prompting that by having kind of photo walls or other types of photo props in their business to encourage people to take photos when they're at their location. I think we'll definitely be seeing, obviously, that change a little bit now. With COVID, people aren't actually physically going to places as much, but I think I recommended to a client the other day, actually encouraging them to encourage people to take photos of their food when they order takeout from a restaurant, and still as a way to still kind of promote that user-generated content.
I think that's a great tip. Okay, and then the other part of your talk at SMX was kind of best practices for writing descriptions. And it's really interesting, the use keywords, don't use keywords, stuff keywords. Where do you fall down on this whole debate? How should you use keywords in your description?
I think using, just like with any other content, using them sparingly. I think they definitely are. It's hard to say. It's definitely been tested, and it's hard to say if they're actually helpful or not in improving the ranking of a listing, but typically we don't see it help a lot. But obviously you want, anytime you're posting content or creating your own content, that it be relevant. So having a couple of target keywords in there is going to be helpful, just from a consistency standpoint, but obviously not keyword stuffing that. And then I think also keeping it relevant. So changing that description seasonally, especially if you're a business where your business changes seasonally. So maybe you're a bike rental shop in the summer and you rent skis in the winter. Changing your Google My Business description seasonally to reflect that can definitely be helpful.
I would imagine not that many people do that. I think they probably write the best description they can, and then it's forgotten until they change agencies. Yeah.
Yep. And it's down at the bottom of the listing, so people aren't seeing it as much, but it's definitely still helpful to have there.
Okay, cool. And then the other thing you did recommend mentioning your location in your description. So
yeah, definitely.
So like the actual address, or how do you put like where you service? How would you recommend doing that?
If you're a bike shop in Denver, just mentioning, hey, such and such bike shop located near Estes Park Brewery, that sort of thing, just kind of similar to the content that you put on your location page, just making sure that you're kind of giving that relevance and letting people know where to find you.
All right, cool. And then maybe talk about the whole picture here. I mentioned Google as your homepage is this mantra we have. Why is doing all of this so important? Why do you want to make sure your knowledge panel is just right and your listings are as optimized as possible? What advantage does that give a business?
It's definitely like you're saying, Google as my homepage. It's definitely one of the first touch points people have with your business, unless they're coming to your website directly, or they're clicking on it from an organic result instead of from the Google My Business listing. So making sure that you're putting your best foot forward with that Google My Business listing, and that you're giving the best picture that you can of your business and giving people the information that they're looking for, especially when it comes to things like hours and that sort of thing. I can't tell you the amount of times I get super frustrated, and probably more than the average person because I'm in the local SEO space, but where I'll go to a Google My Business listing and the hours aren't there, or the hours are inaccurate, that sort of thing. So, but I also think there's a fine balance. You don't want to give people too much information there because you want them to come to your website too. So it's kind of like walking that fine line.
Yeah, and I had Dwayne Forrester on. You made a really good point that like in normal times, that's kind of annoying, but people are really anxious about going out to stores these days. So if you have if they arrive and your hours never got updated or you mess something up, it's like you might lose a customer forever.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's even more important right now. And I think a lot of people have realized that, given COVID. I think I haven't seen any numbers yet, but it would be really interesting to see the number of Google My Business listings that have suddenly gotten claimed in the last couple of months that maybe people didn't even care if they had, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I should actually take care of this because it's something I can control right now.
All right, cool. And then you've been doing this a while. What are some mistakes you see? You mentioned some. What are some mistakes you see over and over again people are making with GMB?
I think one, obviously, is not claiming their listing. I think people, especially really small businesses, maybe if they're not working with an agency, don't realize that they have this amazing free tool at their disposal. So they're just not claiming it. It's not getting updated. Maybe things are getting user generated as far as like suggested edits, that sort of thing, but just not even claiming that listing is definitely a huge mistake. I think keyword stuffing in especially the Google the title of the business can definitely hurt people without them knowing it. If they're just trying to manage things on their own and they don't realize that that's definitely something you want to avoid, having that spammy title can definitely hurt businesses too.
All right, cool. And then what tips do you have for small businesses? And I'm going to give you kind of specific topics here. So localized content, what would you recommend for small businesses as they think about localized content?
Right. I think keeping it as location specific as possible, especially if you're a multi-location business, it can be really easy to just reuse content from location page to location page. But REI does a really good job with this on their location pages. They get really specific as to mentioning the neighborhood and the area in which each store is located. So anything you can do to make that content as location detailed as possible.
Yeah, we have a client who's a home builder, and they always put like the schools that are nearby for elementary, middle school, and like the restaurants that are nearby. It's very smart.
Yeah.
What are your favorite local link building tips?
I think one thing that's helpful, and definitely takes a lot of effort on the client's part if you're working with clients, is really getting that relationship building piece down when it comes to link building. So if you're a small business, anytime that you're donating money to a youth sports team, or you're sponsoring an event or anything like that, getting links back for those types of things. So that there's definitely an education piece that comes with that, and educating clients to think about that and get in that mindset. And then thinking about things like local business directories, chamber of commerce pages, those types of things can definitely be beneficial from a local perspective as well.
All right, cool. And then one last one, tips for review generation, for getting more reviews. What do you have?
Ask for them. You're definitely going to increase the amount of reviews you get by asking for them. And just offering good customer service. My parents run a small business in Wisconsin, and they don't do any sort of review outreach at all. And by just offering really good customer service, the amount of, I have ownership access on their GMB listing, and I get at least 1 to 2 review emails from GMB in my inbox every day. And it's just by offering good customer service.
That's awesome. What would you be speaking about if we were at conference season? Do you have any topics that you'd be speaking about, or maybe you're at virtual conferences already? I don't know.
Yeah, I've got a couple lined up for later this month, talking about, or hopefully talking about technical competitor analysis at Brighton SEO, but we'll see if that actually happens in September or not. But a couple of smaller events coming up, and then I'm doing a WordCamp Denver, which will be a virtual event talking about technical SEO.
All right, very cool. Last question, how did you, so maybe I'm wrong on this, but how long have you been a speaker, and how long have you been around, and what was your journey to get there? I mean, it's somewhat recent, right? I don't mean it's been like yesterday,
it's been about a year or so. So I did, there's a really great event called Shine Speaker Bootcamp. And it's a speaker bootcamp for women in the tech space, not just digital marketing, but the tech space in general, put on by 3 amazing women in Canada. And you do a 6-week online boot camp with lots of really cool training sessions from really amazing speakers across the tech space, some in the SEO space. And then you get together for a weekend. Our on-site was in Vancouver at the Unbound offices last May. Yeah, just over a year ago. So that event was really cool because you get to work one-on-one with a coach who really helps you kind of hone in on your deck and your presentation. And then you come out of that with a speaker video and professional headshots, which definitely helps when pitching events. And the event just has a lot of credibility in itself. So that kind of helped open a lot of doors and kind of helped me hit the ground running as far as starting to do more speaking.
Awesome. Well, you're very good at it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Last thing, are we going to get a Packers-Bears game this year, or what do you think?
I hope so. I don't know if there'll be fans in attendance, but we'll see what happens.
All right. Did you like the Packers pick? They drafted a quarterback when they have Aaron Rodgers. What did you think?
I think it's smart. I think I love Aaron Rodgers as a player and most of the time as a person, but I think as we know, like, he's gotten hurt a couple of times. He's not getting any younger, so I think having someone else ready to go is not a bad idea at all.
All right, cool. Well, Niki, if people want to get in touch with you, how do you recommend they do so?
Twitter, LinkedIn, or hit me up at Niki@2octobers.com. Check out our website. We are offering a lot of really cool training webinars, all free right now during COVID, and probably planning to keep them free for the long term. So check it out. I'm doing one next week, or no, in a couple of weeks, with a coworker of mine on multi-location SEO and content.
Definitely want to check that out. Okay, well, let's do one more virtual cheers. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, cheers, Mark.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
And I'll be seeing you around soon.